Hi, Gareth Hollis again. Welcome back to Everything You Never Needed to Know About Me, and thank you for persevering so far. I know some subjects have been more interesting than others, probably. So, using a random number generator to tell me what I'm going to talk about each time. The couple of subjects still haven't come up, including assault and depression, so just a bit of a trigger warning there. And if you watched the last video, then you know that I already drew this number. So I'm going to be talking about school. Like most of you, I'm assuming school wasn't a particularly happy place for you or a happy time. Although, yeah, I suppose it is true when you look back in, the school days are the best days of your life, when you think you've got all this pressure and all this work to do, and actually then you get into the real world and realise how easy school was and how good you had it, really. So when I was first started school, went to primary school, which was probably a few hundred metres from my house. Just used to walk across the road to it. It was a very small school in a small village. There was actually only 4 people in my year for quite a few years. It got to the point where I was actually the oldest pupil at school at one point. Even by the time I finished the school, there was only about 10 people in our class. It was very, very small. Went from there up to a high school. But I was always picked on, from a young age, because of my teeth being prominent. Something that I didn't really get sorted out until, I was never offered train track braces or anything like that as a kid, unfortunately. My younger sister was just slightly younger, so she's 5 years younger than me, so that's probably the sort of threshold I missed out on them by. I finally got them when I was 26, but yeah, by that point my confidence well and truly knocked. Low self-esteem, I say low confidence, etc. Because I'd always been picked on about it, always made to feel small, feel ugly, etc. So yeah, school wasn't a particularly nice place for me. When I went to let's carry on with there. So yeah, it probably didn't help. I was quite bookish. I enjoyed reading. I went to school with the intention of learning, which obviously a lot of children don't. And the people who actually do want to learn, who do actually want to get an education and try and get a good job at the end of it, are looked down upon and seen as the strange ones, whereas actually really that's what everyone should be aspiring to. But yeah, obviously the people who are looked up to are the people who are playing sport, and they're the cool kids. I guess it's probably the same in most countries, unfortunately, and I don't see it changing, in all honesty. So at the time I'd always thought, going through school, I'd always considered myself fairly intelligent, and it seemed I was considered by others to be fairly intelligent, which is part of the reason I was getting bullied. It was only sort of later on in life I realised how wrong that was, and that it's not that I was intelligent, it's that I cared enough to put work in. And when I then later on moved to a grammar school, and then later on again when I joined the military intelligence corps, that's when I realised how actually everyone else is just so much more intelligent than I am, and I just got by on actually just putting the effort in. So that was demoralising, but anyway, I'm kind of skipping ahead a bit. So the school system in Leicester is a bit different to a lot of places in the UK, in that you go to primary school, then you go to a high school, then you go to a community college where you do your GCSEs. So year 10, I left high school, went to community college, and I enjoyed that. The community college, there's no more school uniform. You're treated like an adult. You call the teachers by the first names instead of sir or Mr. or Mrs. or Miss or any of that stuff, and you're actually made to feel more like a person, I suppose. I mean, there is a flip side to uniform, obviously. So they didn't have to wear school uniform, and as I pointed out in a previous episode of this, we weren't an affluent family in that, with 5 kids, we didn't have all the designer clothes or the nice things or the fashion or any of that stuff that even like the people, friends or other pupils who lived on the council estates and things, they still ended up having all this designer gear because there were only 1 or 2 of them. And so then when you go to a school where there is no school uniform, suddenly that's a lot more apparent when you're there in your cheap clothes and everyone else has got on the Levi's and the Nike and things like that. Anyway, so that just another thing to be picked on, I suppose, picked on about, and that's part of the reason now, I suppose, like my self-esteem, it won't let me now wear the non-designer clothes, even though I still can't afford them and I have to buy them second hand. It's weird that these labels just mean a lot to me, and they shouldn't do, because it's just a name. But I'll only pretty much wear like Levi jeans and Nike high tops and stuff like that now, and it's weird, and I know it's wrong, but that's who I am now. And on the plus side is that I'll go to a car boot sale and pay £2 for a pair of Levi jeans, and that'll last me for years. And when I grow out of them or I get bored of them, I'll put them on eBay and maybe get 5 of them. So it's better economy than me going and spending £7 on a pair of jeans from Primark and then just throwing them away at the end of it. So there are plus sides, but anyway, I'm deviated massively. Sorry, I forgot to do in the at the start of this video that there will be tangents. Unfortunately, that's how life goes. So community college, I enjoyed it there. I was doing well there, relatively well, like compared to people around me. I was expecting to carry on there, do my GCSEs, do my A levels, which was also done at the community college, and then after that, hadn't really given it much thought. I was being sort of pushed towards university, but hadn't really made any solid plans. And it was at this point, halfway through my GCSEs, I think about the time summer holidays hit, that's when we moved house. We moved to Lincolnshire instead, and completely different school system there. So in Horncastle, they'd got 2 schools, and it was based on the 11 plus, which is something I hadn't actually taken. So the 11 plus is a test where if you pass it, you get to go to the grammar school. If you fail it, then you go to the other school. And it's the grammar school. It wasn't a paid for thing. Like in Leicester, if I wanted to go to a grammar school, it would have cost I think it was about £1,500 per term. And my dad at the time, he was keen for me to go to a grammar school, but he didn't have £1,500 a term to spend on that. And if he had, then he'd have also had to send my 3 younger sisters. So that's £6,000 per term. We didn't have that sort of money, and that was part of the reason why he made the decision to move to Lincolnshire, where grammar schools are free. It's done purely on merit, not on finances. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or if you're pretty much just scraping by, then there's no reason why you can't go to a grammar school if you've got the aptitude. So that was why we ended up there. And I took this time as an opportunity to try and reinvent myself a bit, to not be, I suppose, such a loser. It didn't help also that growing up, my dad had been like a bit of a not a scrapper as such, but he didn't want that for me. He wanted me to sort of grow up being more genteel, is the word he used, and not be a fighter, and like to talk my way out of arguments or fights and things like that. And so as a result, that's that didn't really work in my favour either, like trying to stand up to bullies and things. It's certainly not the way that that I'm raising my kids. Like, if someone hits them, then they've got my full what's the word I'm looking for? I've forgotten the word I'm looking for now. But my full approval to defend themselves and to hit back, and they'll never be in trouble with me for fighting back and defending themselves, regardless of what the school says. Anyway, so I took this as an opportunity to reinvent myself, and kind of deviated a bit there again because that wasn't overly relevant. But the just to not be such a bookish person. But as it happens, that was kind of irrelevant anyway, because going into a grammar school was when I realised that actually I'm not this clever person that I thought I was. When I went to Lincolnshire, I had to sit a test to make sure I can get into the school. But then, although I passed that, then I'm up against people who've been in the grammar school system since year 6 or year 7. And yeah, I realised how lacking I was. And it changed my attitude a bit, and it made me, I suppose, not care, because I wasn't like special anymore. Not that special thing had worked to my advantage for a lot of my youth, but with regards to my school, I'd always put effort in because I thought that was what I was there for, because I was this good pupil that always got good school reports and got fairly decent grades. And when I went there, I realised actually I'm pretty much floundering at the bottom here, and it took the incentive away from me, which is the opposite of what it should have done. Really, it should have made me work harder, but it didn't. And going there, I kind of fell in with a new bunch of friends. I don't know if you're familiar with a TV show called The In-Betweeners, which is a British comedy. So the in-betweeners, they're not the cool kids, but they're also not the ones at the bottom. And I kind of fell in with that those people, which was a step up for me. And some of those people are still really good friends with. 2 of them were best men at my wedding, and I'm still good friends with them now. I'd still consider them my best friends, even though we don't talk that often anymore. So the move was good for me in that respect anyway. But from an educational point of view, moving schools halfway through my exams, taking up 3 new subjects that I'd never touched before, which was history, electronics, and something else. No, in fact, it was just the 2 subjects, actually. Yeah, obviously maths wasn't up there as one of my better subjects then. So yeah, took up two new subjects. At the end of it, also when I did French, they wouldn't accept the coursework I'd done at my previous school, and that gave me the mentality of, well, fuck it then. If you're not going to accept it, then I'm not going to put the effort in. And so instead, I just started doing German. I'd done a little bit at previous school, but I just started doing it as one of my GCSEs. And I put all my effort into German instead of French. And at the end of that 1 year of doing German, sorry about that. So I forgot to delete the other videos off my phone, so I just reached my my memory limit, and it just stopped working. So yeah, at the end of that year, when I took my exams, I ended up getting the same grade for German, which I'd done for a year, as I did for French, which I'd done for 6 years. So I suppose that shows the difference in actually putting the work in. And if the school had accepted my French coursework, who knows what grade I might have got with that. At the end of the GCSEs, I ended up with 3 A's, 4 B's and 2 C's. So okay, not exemplary, but not the end of the world. I then went on to do A-levels at that school, and I lasted a year before I decided that actually A-levels isn't for me. I've got no aspiration of going to university, which was what the school was gearing towards. Being a grammar school, they just naturally expected everyone to go to university. There was no talk of things like apprenticeships or anything like that. It wasn't even mentioned as far as I remember. It was just getting you out the door to go to university fully equipped for that. And that wasn't for me, so I ended up leaving school early. So I did a year of A-levels, so nothing to show for that. The A-levels I did was English, literature, German, which I was enjoying, and business studies, which was a new subject for me, and actually something I enjoyed, and I felt I was doing well in. German, I was struggling a little bit with, but I was still enjoying it. And then English literature, I'd enjoyed English literature when I was doing GCSE. I found it really easy, actually. Someone who's always enjoyed reading, but when I went to do it at A-level, it was like a completely different subject. And actually, in retrospect, if I'd been able to just change my A-level, change that one and take up a different subject, then maybe I would have ended up staying on. But if that was an option, it's something I didn't discuss. It's something I didn't pursue or take the initiative with. I just decided, no, that's enough. I've done my time. I just want to get out and start earning some money. I'd got a car by this point and wanted to start actually doing some work on that, and just start making my way in life. At the age of 17, I was obviously all grown up and a mature adult, and oh god, how little we actually know in retrospect. So yeah, that's when I left school. So the only thing I'll add on to that is that I'd always been, always kind of thought I was clever, and then when I went to the grammar school, found out that wasn't the case. When I went, even when I went through military, I consider myself fairly clever. I went through the signals as a technician, doing technical trades, so like geeky stuff, fixing radios. So I'd consider myself fairly clever then. It's only again when I went to the intelligence corps, and most of the people that I'm sharing a job with have got A-levels, they've got university degrees, some multiple degrees, some of them. So when I went through doing language training on my course, there was someone who'd got a degree in Italian and Spanish, I think. There was someone who'd got a degree in Japanese, someone who'd got a degree in astrophysics. Law was another one. And yeah, that's just the ones I can remember off the top of my head. There was me with my 9 GCSEs. Yeah, just making sure I'd added up to 9 properly then. Yeah, I say maths wasn't one of the ones that I got an A in, coincidentally, as you can probably guess. And the 2 that I got C's in were the 2 that were completely new subjects for me, electronics and history. Anyway, so when I then went to the intelligence corps, I was talking to a captain who was a late entry, commissioned from the ranks, and he was, I can't remember how I got onto the subject, but I mentioned how I'd always consider myself like unintelligent because I just don't think the same ways that other people do. Like my aspirations and things like that, or what I consider to be normal behaviour or logical things to do, that I'd always considered myself, because of that, to not be intelligent. And what he said is that actually really stuck with me. He said that he also doesn't think the same way as other people, and that was the reason he considered himself to be that he was intelligent. And just that slight shift of mindset, it make a big difference. Like when you're feeling down, you think, actually maybe I am looking at this from a glass half empty kind of perspective, and let's think on the plus sides of this, that I do think outside of the box and adapt and overcome situations, or just do things the way that other people wouldn't have thought of, because that's not the way that it's typically been done. Well, yeah, we've always done it that way before. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it should always be done. Which doesn't always work in my favour, but I'm going to stick with it now. I like being that person, and I don't want to go back to just feeling the way I used to. So I have no idea on the time, because obviously I'm on the second video for this now, as part of this episode, and I'm going to have to amalgamate the two. So I'm going to call it quits for that, and we'll see what comes up next. Thank you for watching this and sticking with me, and please like and subscribe if you want to continue my journey, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.